C2 Wrestling Podcast, CTD and Snowden. The Royal Rumble is in the rearview mirror. WrestleMania is right in front of us. We are just under 2 weeks or 2 months, whatever. Wish it was 2 weeks from the granddaddy of them all, the make amends in Vegas WrestleMania 42 after the stinker of WrestleMania 41. Card's starting to take shape, but we got to talk what happened at the Rumble and kind of the direction that the Rumble is leading us towards and what reports are saying. It was a fun Rumble weekend. We were live. Subscribe if you weren't there. Our future lives, they're always fun. Great time. But we start this podcast the same as we always do. Snowden, how are you doing today?
I am not too bad. I ate some lunch before we got on to do this, so I'm nice and full. Had a little zero sugar soda alongside of it. You know, you need that flavor in your life. Got WrestleMania on in the background, while I do this pod, while we're talking the road to WrestleMania. And again, like you said, the rearview mirror has the Royal Rumble. Right out the windshield is WrestleMania. We're right in the middle of both of them. And this is the hot time of the year. A lot going on for better or for worse. Last year ended up being for worse. It was a little bit of a stinker. So with this card starting to shape up, we can start to picture how this Mania is going to be. Sometimes we get let down. Sometimes they exceed expectations, though. So we really won't know until WrestleMania. But I still want every Monday Night Raw, every Friday Night SmackDown, every Elimination Chamber. I want it all to be good leading up to there. And I don't know if it's going to be. We're in a little bit of an odd spot with a lot of feuds, a lot of people right now. Maybe some avenues that I wouldn't have gone down, but some avenues that could turn out to be good. But like you said, Rumble. That's really the biggest thing to talk about. We had, obviously, our live show with Patty V. That was a great little surprise with Patty V. We had a post show. We had Monday Night Raw review already go up. So we might have dabbled in a couple of these conversations. But the hot topic is Roman Reigns winning the men's Rumble, going on to take on a CM Punk after he accepted, or not accepted, but pretty much challenged Punk to the main event at WrestleMania. And disappointed. I'm disappointed in the Rumble win by Roman. I'm disappointed in the way they handled the Rumble. But again, I said it during the Monday Night Raw review last night. If you didn't see the CM Punk Roman Reigns promo, that is why Roman Reigns won, and that is why that is the main event at WrestleMania. Could they have got there other ways? Absolutely, but they're picking these winners and these matches and setting them up the way they are for a reason.
I'm not gonna lie, man. I rewatched the promo earlier today.
It's fucking good.
I kind of got like emotional.
Watching it last night was really like, that was one of the first times in a while where I was watching. I was really like, really getting in it.
I've got this weird feeling from the Punk Roman segment. The promo hit and it hit and it hit. Normally, I get this feeling when I feel so passionate about one side winning. I kind of got a little bit of a remembrance to how I felt during the Cody Roman build and how bad I wanted Cody to win. And I felt so emotionally invested. Then we got that promo with Punk and Reigns. And I think you ask me every single day who I want to win from now until WrestleMania, my answer is going to change each time. It's going to flip-flop back and forth because I love both guys. I was rewatching the promo and I'm like, man, this is what I love. And like this, the emotions of it. But this is a story that we've been invested in for 10 years. Because we talked about when Punk returned, Roman was this mega match. There's so many mega matches for Punk, and we've gotten some of them. But the one-on-one with Roman cut so much deeper than just a mega match against Cody or whatever. This goes back over a decade from the podcast and you got to make Roman look strong and all of these things and the Royal Rumble that year and Punk's elimination and you name it. This goes back a decade and they've done a great job at sprinkling the teases about it during Punk's tenure. But this was a legit Like, we're going head on about this. They finished that promo, and I just immediately start thinking of how great the video package is going to be, how great the entrances are going to be, the stare down. I immediately in my head, I'm like, when the bell rings, this feels like a match where the crowd all just rises and it's cheering. They're cheering before they even start fighting. Like, this is a marquee match. I love everything about it except the fact that Roman won the Rumble. I
Yeah,
just
yeah.
didn't need him to win the Rumble. And someone in our comments asked, well, who should it have been? I mean, plenty of people, mainly the GOAT Gunther, but I think with recent reports, it makes me feel even stronger that Gunther should have never been in the match. And Jacob Fatu should have won it. And that
Yep.
would have been the most like, we're having some fun this Mania run. And I'm excited for the rest of Punk Roman. And if that's, just the beginning, we are in for a legendary build. But we could have gotten there. That promo could have been the day after Elimination Chamber.
Yeah, well, like you said, over a decade. The Shield, Roman Reigns, CM Punk, they have been ever so connected since the Shield debuted. This goes back to 2012. This feud started 14 years ago at this point, and is kind of culminating. And I want to pull out a point you said there where this is like a big match for Punk. Out of all the big matches for Punk, for him to have since he's come back, Roman has always been on the table. This is a big Roman match. How many big Roman opponents are there really left? Yeah, there's guys on the come up that will get there for sure. Maybe we get a Roman Oba match down the line, an Ilya match, or something like that. But Roman opponents that he hasn't run through, I never need to see a Roman Brock interaction for the rest of my life. He's done Cody. They'll get a trilogy eventually, sure, but there's CM Punk,
Gunther.
Gunther, like that's it. Those are the last two really big Roman matches. So this works both ways in that sense. I love the
Braun
promo.
Breaker.
Prom
Him running.
Breaker,
Yeah.
yes. Prom Breaker, yes. Yeah, yeah. It's a good one as well. I love the promo. It was a great back and forth. A lot of good digs. A lot of good shit talking too. They kind of crossed the line that they maybe don't cross every week on WWE TV. They save those things for maybe main event feuds. Did you notice the promo had nothing to do with the Royal Rumble? Like they could have done the same promo any other way. It didn't need Roman winning the Rumble. And I completely agree with your sentiment about Fatu, where this was your year. You guys are doubling down by running it back in Vegas. You called yourselves out. We had a stinker last year. We're fixing it. We already were planned to go to New Orleans, but sorry, New Orleans. We're going back to Vegas because we got to do it right. They've never done that before, right? Canceled a location, went back to back because they have to do it over again. Money's involved. I get it. But they want to wipe that stinker off the board a little bit. Punk and Roman is fantastic, but I don't know if they're quite doing that just yet. You got to have a little fun with this WrestleMania. They always want to invest in their big stars. The Roman Reignses are always going to be in a main event match of some sorts. But this was the year, I think, to really put over a fresh face. And that Fatu win and the next 10 weeks of us being like, Fatu won the Rumble. Where are they going? Fatu's going to get the main event match at WrestleMania. Night one or night two. Doesn't even matter. As CM Punk recently said, who gives a shit? It's the same thing. It's a main event match. That Fatu, Cody, potentially Orton, Drew mix is very fresh and new, despite Cody and Drew going at it a billion times. Sure. That would have been special. This is great. I don't know if it's as special as Fatu winning the Rumble.
I've seen reports that Cody is just facing Drew one on one. I don't know. I kind of think it's going to be the Fatal Four Way, or hell, I think there's still a chance they kind of swerve and we end up getting Cody Orton. And,
Yeah.
Cody wins the title back at the Chamber and Orton wins the Chamber. Like I don't think that's off the table. And if that's the case, I wouldn't say I hate the Orton. I hate the Reigns Rumble win a little bit less, but I probably, at that point you're a month past it and you're like, all right, whatever it is, what it is. I'm liking the direction now. So there is hope in that aspect. I did have a question for you.
Hmm.
because there was a lot of chatter about some specifics of that promo between Punk and Roman.
Okay.
One of the big things that was making its rounds on Twitter was, damn, Punk and Roman really sold that match, but they buried the shit out of Drew McIntyre. And they said, man, they immediately made that title look like nothing, whatever. Personally, I think it was all fine and it all made sense. And the WWE Championship has always been the one on the other foot. That's
Mhm.
the one that they're not laughing at. Do you agree with any of this? Because I think it's people complaining to complain.
It is people complaining to complain. We haven't even seen SmackDown. Drew's gonna come out and cut a promo on SmackDown, shit talk Punk and Roman a little bit, and we're right back to the square one. Also, they should be putting down Drew McIntyre. Everybody wants to be the best guy. They shouldn't be like giving respect to Drew McIntyre, who is a guy they've both feuded with for an eternity, essentially. Like they both should be kind of shitting on the guy. Doesn't matter if they shit on the guy, that guy's still WWE champion. You can't really like burn that off of him. I didn't even like. I saw the same thing you're talking about. I didn't even think much of it because I think it's just nonsense. I think it was good. Again, I like the little incorporation of Punk kind of calling out Balor during that promo too. I like them kind of talking about Drew McIntyre. That's the only real reference to it being about the Rumble win is Drew getting brought up. So I guess there is a little bit of Rumble talk in that promo, but yeah, I got no problem with it. I don't understand any of the discourse.
You know what it kind of like gave me vibes of? It kind of gave me vibes of SmackDown versus Raw. Like
Hmm.
how much Punk was like, this is the flagship show and I'm the leader and I'm the guy that runs things around here. If you want to go over to SmackDown, that's a joke with Drew. I'm like, yeah, that's the kind of brand warfare I want to see. I want that. I want that us versus them mentality. I
Yep.
want that kind of feeling between the two brands because it should be that way. They should be competing against each other. So I didn't hate that at all. I thought that was, I don't want to say unwarranted, but kind of grasping at straws.
Hmm.
That and look, I know McIntyre's got a very strong fan base online. I like all three guys. I didn't have any issue with it.
I had no issue with it. Yeah. Again, I think it's dumb. I think people are always going to complain about something. Um, it is what it is. I thought it just added like an extra layer to their kind of promo. And like they are both guys that beat Drew McIntyre in some pretty big feuds. And maybe whoever wins this is the superior now because they've both beat Drew, and whoever wins CM Punk and Roman is the best. Drew's fine. He's on another brand. They're doing their own thing. Again, he's gonna come out SmackDown this Friday and talk some shit. Like it's all gonna be fine. Um,
And it's not like they just faced a week ago. Punk
yeah.
beat McIntyre what, a year and a
There you
half
go.
ago?
When was
Like
the last time Roman and McIntyre actually faced?
yeah,
Like
exactly.
whatever. It's like irrelevant conversation in my opinion. But I am looking forward to the Punk Roman series, if we'll call it that. I don't know if they're one and done at Mania. I can see some sort of run back potentially happening down the line. The problem is when you're thinking down the line and you got a guy like Roman Reigns in the mix. 10 weeks from now is WrestleMania, right? Roughly. So we're down the line, it's WrestleMania. Roman ain't showing up every week, man. He ain't gonna be there. You would think not. Again, maybe they swerve us. There's been a lot of commotion that I hope they see and are like, okay, maybe we got to get this guy on TV. And he does show up more weeks than we expected. 1 week off, that's fine. Punk might not be on TV one random week out of here. It happens. But if you really want to build this feud, Roman should also be involved in the main event of the chamber match of Punk versus Balor that we're expecting. I'm not saying Roman should, maybe get in and interfere, but he doesn't just want the title. He hates Punk. He should help Punk win that match without Punk knowing. Maybe Balor, Judgment Day, there's a feud there again brewing. So like something screwy is going to happen one way or another. But like, I want Roman involved. I want Roman on TV every week to help build this feud. That one promo was fantastic, but it doesn't mean much if there's zero talk or interaction or conversation for the next 4, 5, 6 weeks about it.
It's interesting because they're both technically baby faces, but you would assume Roman's going to play more of the heel, especially with the route that they're going of Roman is coming back to take everything and lead the ship again because, no one stepped up in his mind. Like very kind of heelish things, kind of like douchey talking of like, when I show up, it matters. And when I don't show up, it's me giving people the opportunity to, you know, prove themselves, whatever. It makes me think odds are I'm probably leaning more towards a Punk win, but at the same time, who knows? Maybe they want Roman to win and the big match is Roman Braun Breaker and we're going to get there at SummerSlam and they look at it as we'll have Roman hold the title for 4 or 5 months. And even if he's not on every week, he's on every 2 or 3 weeks, and that's enough to just keep him relevant as the champion. And he defends it once or twice and then drops it to the next guy. Maybe. I kind of think, though, Punk retaining, you do that and you have him on every single week, and the loss to that next guy, whether it's Braun Breaker or Gunther, whoever, might feel a little bit bigger. It's kind of interesting because now I don't have that same doom that I had with the Cena heel run and him with Travis Scott. I would love Roman to be around if he's the champion. Of course, I would
Mhm.
expect him to. But I think they could kind of get away with it a little bit easier than Roman title reigns in the past. Because I think if Roman wins the title, we're not expecting him to hold the title for 1,000 days.
But here's what I expect. This is where my mind goes considering Punk Roman for the championship. And it could go one of two ways. We're far out from Mania, from SummerSlam. Like there's a lot of ways to build it. But part of me does think Punk retains. I said that during our review of the Rumble when we kind of pitched that idea. That's the main event. I think Punk wins. I don't know. It's Roman Reigns, though. Like it is tough to kind of deny it. I see them wanting to continue the Punk title run for a lot of reasons. Punk's over his shit is one of them. Roman, though, it'd be silly to not get that title on Roman before Roman is said and done. And maybe it is kind of a now or never thing with Roman. He's always going to be involved again, but like maybe it is strike while the iron's hot and it's still hot with Roman. But Punk wins. Rollins is back down the line. Rollins versus Punk for the title. Rollins gets his belt back. Makes a lot of sense. But does it make more sense than Roman headlining versus Rollins for the championship at SummerSlam? Roman Rollins for the title. It burns Braun a little bit because now you're just holding Braun over for a long time. But is Braun beating Rollins for the title bigger and better than Braun beating Roman? There's an argument both ways if you want to look at the storyline of each side of things. But that's like your title mix, I think, for the next little while is Braun, Roman, Punk, Rollins. Maybe some other guy squeezes in a short reign there. I do think they're going to pull the trigger on LA Knight at some point, and he's going to get that Drew McIntyre moment. But I very well can see that Roman Rollins match that was probably supposed to be this WrestleMania main event being the main event of SummerSlam for the championship. If Roman does walk out champion, I want him on every week. Again, 1 week off, I get it. But you're the champion at this point. You got to be on every week. It's such a it's such a bad look for that championship that's only been around for so long. It's kind of been the workhorse title for a while. To have that title now become this old universal title, whatever you want to call it, that we would see once a month, does not float my boat.
I think the killer to it as well, we talked about freshening things up, but we also talked about like progressing and getting somewhere. Putting the title back on Roman, yes, it's a title he's never held, and you can have a few matchups that he hasn't had, or have some marquee matchups that you were expecting, i.e., the Rollins. Another Roman title run does kind of feel like, all right, we just went back 3 years, and now
Yeah.
it's let's build up Roman until he drops the title to some mega baby face that's going to get this big moment a la Cody at Mania 40. If Punk retains, it keeps that like unpredictability where I
Braun
could
Breaker
see
could win
him.
it the next night.
Braun Breaker could win it. Hell, I could see Punk facing LA Knight, retaining against him, and then facing him again 2 months later at SummerSlam and losing it then. Like
Mhm.
it kind of keeps things open to where they're not going to have Roman drop the title to some of the people that Punk could drop the title to. And that's not a knock on Punk. I love Punk,
Hmm.
but it's just how they operate and
Yeah,
how, like, who beats Roman. If we sat here and you told me in 3 to 6 months' time after WrestleMania, yeah, Roman dropped the title to LA Knight, I'd be pretty surprised.
I'd be pretty surprised.
I'd
Yeah.
be pretty shocked. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, let's talk it. You got Roman wins the title at WrestleMania, so you got, the rest of April, May, June, July, August, a bit of August. So you got 4 or 5 months. If Roman's losing that belt in any way it happens, it's to Gunther, it's to Braun Breaker, it's to Seth Rollins, it's to Braun Breaker. If I didn't say him,
You said
did I
Braun
say him?
Breaker.
Okay, did I? Maybe it flips back to CM Punk at some point, but even
There's
that,
another one.
who? Who am I missing?
Fucking Jay.
Ah, yeah, he could lose it to Jay.
Yeah,
That I was
because
gonna also
his
mention
own
that.
family.
Yeah,
Hell,
he could lose it to Jay. Yeah, the Cody trilogy could happen at some point
yeah.
too. But like, there's not Punk could lose the belt to LA Knight, and I'd believe it a bit more. No shade on Punk, but
Punk could lose it to Logan Paul, and I could see that route.
yeah, yeah, I wouldn't necessarily hate it, to be honest. It's
I
different,
wouldn't
but
either. The aspect of it, though, is Punk is on every week, so you can
yes,
believe
you
it
can do it.
because you
Yeah.
know he's still going to be there the next
Hmm.
week. Roman, they're only going to have him lose to a handful of guys because he's only going to be there a handful of times.
Yeah, I mean, Roman wins at Mania. He only probably defends that title 2 or 3 times, maybe. And also, if Roman does win SummerSlam, the latest, you got to get that belt off of him. I'm sorry. I love Roman. I want to see him with that belt at some point, sure. It is a little bit of a backstep. I get it to make him champion again, but he's still around. He's still active. He's still he's got that Undertaker like figure now where you wrestle 2 or 3 times a year. You're the megastar, but like he could be champion. It could be credible, but SummerSlam the latest. I think a big proponent that we've mentioned here or there, though, is Braun Breaker. And a lot of what's going on with Braun Breaker right now, the storyline they've set, Braun Breaker, number 2 in the Rumble, gets attacked by a masked man, gets eliminated by Obafemi, loses his shit on Raw. Masked man's not revealed yet. There's a deeper storyline for Braun Breaker and the Vision outside of the championship right now. So Braun is not winning the title at WrestleMania. So you're already now Braun looked like he was one of the next world champions, but now do they do it at Backlash in Tampa? I don't think so either. The Money in the Bank got moved. SummerSlam is the next like big PLE post WrestleMania, so we might really be holding out on Braun. But that storyline very well involves Seth Rollins as well. We've talked about it again a little bit through our last reviews and whatnot, but who is under that mask? Who could it have been that attacked Braun? Where do they go in that storyline? Who faces who at WrestleMania? You got to imagine the entirety of the Vision is in a match or has matches come WrestleMania. So where do they go?
I'll tell you what, they got to perfect this because if they drop the ball here, forget it.
Forget it.
If they miss on this, because a large portion of the fan base is already like, all right, enough with the masked men, enough with everyone returning under a hood. Like, I get it, I understand. If this is a dud, they're in trouble with this faction
Hmm.
because I'm not saying these guys are never going to get anywhere, but the faction itself is never going to get anywhere. Who is it? I don't know. I think I could probably be a little more adamant on like who it shouldn't be.
Yeah,
Like for
yeah.
instance, like it shouldn't be Rollins, but at the same time, you would have to assume it sets up his Mania match. And I'm at the point right now with Braun Breaker, like he was so hot and they cooled him off so significantly pretty quick that to me, he like has to be facing Rollins one on one
Yeah.
because
No
any
exception.
other logical option after that really doesn't do it for me. And just a few weeks ago, we were looking at the Rumble where you have a lot of younger talent that you would assume would be mixing it up with that older talent. Braun Breaker specifically, were like, oh, he's facing CM Punk or going to be against Punk and Rollins or Punk Rollins and Reigns, whatever. You set up those kind of matches, that match, Oba versus Brock, Sol Ruka or someone, Javon in the mix, like that kind of next crop starting to face the older talent and really start establishing that next wave where anything for Braun Breaker that isn't the likes of Roman Reigns, CM Punk, or Seth Rollins, like say it was Logan Paul that attacked him and they turned Braun Breaker face, that doesn't do it for me. That's not enough.
So the turn itself, I wouldn't hate, but like, yeah, Braun Breaker facing Logan Paul at Mania would absolutely not do it for me. Braun Breaker finds himself in a similar boat, just on a different, sea maybe, in comparison to a guy like Gunther, where there's only three or four options for these guys. Anything else is lesser. If Braun Breaker isn't winning a major championship against a Roman, a Punk, a Rollins, or just taking on one of those three in any capacity, it's lesser for Braun Breaker this year. Even Brock Lesnar, even if by some weird chance they ended up going Braun Breaker versus Brock Lesnar at Mania, that's a mega match that should happen, but that feels lesser than Braun taking on Rollins, assuming Rollins comes back. The whole masked man thing, again, it probably is easier to count out who it shouldn't be, but I had kind of a thought here where we've talked a bit about it, obviously being Logan or Theory under that mask. And, Theory's been a plant the whole time, and he's kind of siding with Rollins. We pitched the idea of Rollins coming back, but recapturing his vision. He takes Bronson, he takes Logan, he takes Theory and Paul Heyman back, and Breaker's on his own. Do we see a world where Breaker forms his own vision, the revision, and they had Braun Breaker kind of gets his own stable where he is a lead guy, and that's where we bring in the Tony D's, the guys like that to kind of be under Braun Breaker's faction. That's obviously like a stretch of thinking, but if you're gonna break off Breaker from the Vision and have the Vision feud with Breaker, these three or four guys against like Solo, Braun Breaker doesn't do it for me. And in no world do I want to see those backstage segments of LA Knight teaming up with Braun Breaker and Jey Uso. You know what? Everything's okay. We'll team up. Like, I don't want to see Braun just fall into that line with those guys that have been doing it for a year. I do very well see it being Braun versus Rollins at Mania. I think it's Theory or Logan is going to be the guy under the mask, and it's going to lead to some sort of expulsion of Braun from the Vision, or again, Rollins gets his guys back. But I don't know. Is that even still enough? I'm just so indifferent on everything the Vision right now because the stable has gone through so many changes and iterations and just storyline, and things have happened so abruptly that it feels like we're getting a version of something that never should have happened. Like, I don't know. Like, we could just have something better with the Vision. It's hard to escape that thought.
You know what also it kind of takes me to? When we were doing our Raw review and we were talking about the Judgment Day, and mainly the women in the Judgment Day, I'm like, I don't want any of them to be babyface. Like, if you're gonna
Yeah.
split this faction, I like none of them. I'm not clamoring for a babyface run for any of them. I kind of feel that way too with Division and like Braun Breaker, where all right, it's not impossible they turn him babyface and Rollins comes back as a heel because he should be a heel. But I'm not necessarily like clamoring right now for Braun Breaker to be a babyface and be this mega babyface that he can be. One day, yeah. But right now, I'm like, no, I want him to be a heel. Like he fits that role pretty well.
Mhm.
How do you do this breakup angle without, someone's turning babyface? You really gonna have Braun Breaker be the guy that turns babyface right now? Because it wouldn't be a Logan Paul or an Austin Theory. That's kind of where I'm at, where it's the weird. I don't hate it, but I don't want to see either side change faces. And that's the case. Then what exactly are we doing?
So I still like to back up again the idea that it's Austin Theory under the mask. When Theory first came back, there's a backstage segment of him with Heyman. I want to join the Vision because you guys take, and that's what I want to do. And we've already said this about a guy like Bronson Reed. Why would they still just be in this faction, doing nothing, chasing no gold, helping Braun Breaker win the championship? Well, what is the point in all of it? Why would Bronson Reed not want to split off a Braun Breaker right now? Again, it feels rushed. The original iteration, this dates back to our Raw review post WrestleMania, where Bronson Reed came out and hit, or Braun Breaker came out and hit that spear and joined Seth, and then down the line, Bronson Reed joins up with that faction. Seth, Braun Breaker, and Bronson could have been something great. That could have been such a great stable, a great faction if they ran the route a while of Rollins as champion and these guys as tag champions. And then maybe you can still throw a Theory in there down the line when he comes back. We just got a different version of that. And it's just starting to feel like you're maybe better off collapsing the vision. I don't know if this faction is going to work. Where does Heyman go? Where does he fall in line? Does he stick with Braun Breaker? He seems scared shitless of Braun Breaker. You're too crazy. I'm going back to Rollins. Rollins doesn't really need a mouthpiece, if we're being honest. I get that the pairing of Heyman and Rollins made a lot of sense post Mania, but if it boils down to it, I don't know how many years Heyman's got left really doing this. Guy seems like he can go forever, but I think I'd rather see him with the up and coming talent over a side piece of Seth Rollins. It all again culminates at WrestleMania to a point. Obviously, storylines continue. But if it's not Braun versus Rollins one on one, I don't want Braun teaming with anybody. I don't want Rollins teaming with anybody. It's got to be one on one come Mania.
Anything else, like even if it's an implosion of the vision and it's a fatal four way of Breaker, Theory, Logan, and Bronson, like it just nothing
Doesn't
for
do it.
me.
Yeah,
It's such an awkward spot where I think I don't want to say they cooled him off too much, but he was just at such a high,
yeah.
and it kind of felt like he was going to beat Punk for the title. And then we saw some rumors that he wasn't going to, and he would lose, but then he'll win the Rumble. This kind of puts me at, man, it's Rollins or bust right now.
It's
If
Rollins
we're
or
being
bust. Yeah,
if we're being realistic. And then in that case, say we get that. Say we get the lead up and it's Braun Breaker versus Seth Rollins. Cool. Big one-on-one match makes perfect sense. Who does LA Knight face? Who does Penta face? Or is Bronson Reed and Logan and Theory, are they still going to team? And are they going to face the tag team champions? Are they going to team up and take on LA Knight and the Usos? Like, that doesn't do anything for me. So it almost feels as if Braun Breaker is this big piece of the puzzle, and Seth Rollins is maybe even a bigger piece. But the other pieces may not be as big, but they're still so heavy that they have to make sense too for the entire puzzle to work.
Mhm.
So, yeah, Braun Breaker almost has to face Seth Rollins. But even if he does, who the hell do the other guys face? And it's not the most overdone shit at that point.
Yeah. I mean, hypothetically, let's say they run a IC title ladder match and LA is just in that match. Who gives a shit? Like that just does nothing for me. Love LA. Wouldn't even want him to win that because it just should be something different. There's a couple guys that fall into that mix, like the LAs of the world. Jay at least has a tag title, so you can kind of expect something coming out of the Usos' little title run. But everything does have to make sense, and I guess that's part of my problem with the Vision is the Vision has caused a lot of other things to not make sense right now, and the Vision itself doesn't really make sense. It is a pretty strange faction. Even the way that Logan got added, like only for war games, but he's still in the faction, like that also to me still kind of alludes to Logan maybe being a part of this eventual turn on the Vision or Braun Breaker, I should say. It's just they're in a weird spot with all that. This all harps on Rollins being back. If Rollins isn't coming back, they wouldn't have done that angle at the Rumble. I'm like 99.9 that Rollins will be back. But if he weren't coming back, what do you do? Braun Breaker would just be all that steam would be gone. You would literally have to add him to the Roman Punk match. It would have to be a triple threat. That would be the only other option. But I don't know.
Yeah. I I, I mean, I don't know how you do that without having Rollins or some ultra crazy surprise in store, which
Yeah.
I don't see that anywhere. It's weird. It's weird. It's a tough spot because this Mania really could have been like old gen versus new gen, and that has kind of, died down quickly. Now, when it comes to the Mania build itself, you were talking about it before, you're not sure how exciting it might be. Hate to be like the cliche guy, but and sorry to the European fans, But it's definitely going to help that all these shows are going to be pretty much at their normal times
Hmm.
because last year it definitely got hampered by that every week was either 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock, and it's like, man, this just doesn't feel like Mania season right now. So we'll get that where all right, it feels like Mania, it feels like it's Mania season, but I don't want the matches to feel like Monday Night Raw.
Hmm.
And Braun Breaker versus LA Knight, I understand they've been feuding for months. I get that. That to me may as well be on main event.
Yeah, it literally might as well be a main event. There's a whole crop of matches that I want to see happen. There's a whole crop of matches that I don't. To kind of change tides a little bit, you mentioned a little bit earlier a singles match of Cody versus Drew for the championship at Mania. I get it's what's been rumored. We're 10 weeks out. Things can change on a dime. Some of the rumors that get put out have never been true from the beginning, so you never know. There's obviously a possibility of that happening because those two guys are still tangled up. One-on-one Cody versus Drew might be worse than Braun taking on somebody that isn't Rollins, Punk, or Roman. Like there's again just another like you have a fatal four-way right in front of you. This is kind of like Luke Harper not making it into the triple threat at Mania 33. If they were to withhold Fatu from that championship match at this point, you're burning Fatu. You're burning an opportunity here, a chance on somebody. Orton is obviously already a legend. Cool. Up the caliber of that match and put Orton in the match. There's such a story there with all these guys right now that if it led to like a singles Fatu versus Orton match, I don't absolutely hate Fatu versus Orton. That would make sense, especially if he comes out as the attacker, Orton. But Cody versus Drew, it would have to be one. It'd be like a last man standing or something, right? There's no way they would just run a singles match. It would have to be a Hell in a Cell or some crazy shit. I don't care. That does not do it for me in any way. We've seen enough of Cody Drew one on one. If that were to happen, Cody Drew one on one in whatever manner it did, last man standing, this or that, I need Drew McIntyre to kill Cody Rhodes. He would have to put Cody down. I'm talking like literally Cody's got to be off TV for a few months. And I don't think they're going to want to do that because Cody's kind of QB1. But it would have to be like really something to cement Drew McIntyre and give Cody a little bit of something upon a return. I just, regardless, it doesn't do it for me.
There's one way I see why they would, and it's probably the only way because all logic tells you this match should be triple threat or probably fatal four way with Fatu and Orton included with Cody and Drew. The only way I'm like, all right, I could see why they were doing Cody versus Drew straight up is if night one is actually going to get main evented by something else. Say Rhea versus Io, which is a pretty fucking big story and, has a lot of grasp to it, whatever. Say this is the year they want to have the women main event again night one. They're going to tone down the WWE Championship match then to not overshadow what would be in. Now, I don't think this is the right decision, but it's the only way I could see them doing that, where it's we've had Cody versus Drew plenty of times. We can have this open the show on night one and be, the big kickoff to the weekend, and that's going to main event night one. That's the only way I could see that
Um,
happening.
I mean, yeah, I guess I can't say no. I think like with the current landscape of WWE going into Mania, no matter how these matches pan out, we pitched it literally a year ago, pretty much. If it was Jade, Naomi, and Bianca triple threat, that's probably your night one Mania main event. If that was what had ended up happening, it's not unforeseen circumstances for Naomi and Bianca, apparently. Uh, it's not going to happen. That's the only women's match I think that has enough caliber to main event this year. If Rhea versus Io had a championship involved, it could main event. But a Rhea Io just straight up singles match, which obviously is great, doesn't trump Punk versus Roman or whatever the WWE Championship is doing that day. I could see it opening a night one, perhaps, but I'm having trouble placing what that main event of night one would be. Then Stone Cold comes back, like it would have to be something I just can't put my finger on it right now.
Becky versus AJ Lee.
Nah, not a chance. Nah, I'll take
Well,
anything else over that.
this is the thing though. Like to you, yes, to them, that's not far-fetched.
But it's like a grand scheme of things, like the Cody is still QB1.
I'm not disagreeing.
Cody main eventing is what makes the most sense to me. No shade on Drew or anybody else, but like getting Cody to main event, I think is big for them. I think he's going to be that guy that when we look at it, this is the guy that main evented 6 WrestleManias in a row, or he's going to become that kind of figure for a minute. I just can't. I can't envision any other match right now. Maybe Braun Seth. Braun Seth might be the only other match that has enough story, is a high enough caliber. I just don't think Rhea versus EO could be set up to that caliber again, unless they got the title involved. The women's world title, Liv won the Rumble. I get it, but I don't think that match is up there enough. Jade has nobody right now. Is what it is. Brock, but like Brock Oba's not going to main. I don't see anything but the championship matches, the men's championship matches, main eventing each night. Punk Roman gets night two though. That's pretty locked in, I think. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean that's not much of a debate. I think even if it's a fatal four-way, you still have Punk Roman as your night
night
two
two.
main event.
Yeah,
I don't know. There's a big like sandwich going on right now with Mania. And maybe it's why I'm like so cautious. This year's Mania needs to be absolutely unreal for two reasons, and it's the sandwich reason. Because on one slice, when we go back a year, Mania 41 did not hit. Had its moments, it's more of a moments event, but in hindsight 2020, it didn't hit. It was not good enough. Then we look at the other slice. Mania is going to be in Saudi next year. And no matter what mega return they have, WrestleMania at noon, 1 or 2 o'clock, whatever, it's still going to feel different. Just like the Rumble did this year. It's not going to feel the same. So we've got this sandwich theory right now with this Mania that the one in the middle last year stunk. And next year it might not be bad, but we're all kind of being downers on it.
right.
This one's got to click. This one's got to click. If it doesn't, and next year goes how we think it could go, then man, you're talking about 3 straight manias just not hitting on the back of 3 straight manias being
The best ever.
unreal and one of the best, if not the best, 3 straight mania stretch ever. So this mania, I think that's why I'm like so harped on it being unreal. Because we've had plenty of manias where, look, Mania 29, I was there. I loved it at the time. But it was very clear, hey, 28, they put a lot of stock into because it was The Rock's return. And the following year is going to be Mania 30. So, yes, 29, they're still going to try to treat it and have a big event. But you're already kind of looking ahead, man, next year is a Mania 30. It's a big event.
Mhm.
That's where I kind of feel in this one. This Mania has to hit. Right now, there's some guys and girls where if they don't have 1 or 2 specific matchups, that interest level is just going to keep on going down.
Let me hit you with this, right? Over under 51% chance that Roman Reigns wins the title from CM Punk at WrestleMania, holds it for a year, and defends it against The Rock at WrestleMania 43.
Under.
Oh man, I think under two, but I think it's like 48%. Like it's not far under, like that
Yeah.
can't be ruled out. It really can't be ruled out. I think if it was just the pitch of Roman wins and holds the title for a year and defends it at Mania, that's like a 75% chance. It being against The Rock, that's up to The Rock, so maybe that's a little bit lesser, but that Mania being in Saudi, it's we said it about the Rumble, but it screams Sami Zayn finally getting a big moment. But it also screams Roman Reigns headlining with a championship towards a championship. But we'll talk that many when we get there. There are a lot of matches, though. There's a lot of matches that pretty much have to happen for this Mania. And, we got a little bit left in this pod. If we're going to lock in matches, right? You have Roman and Punk. You got to have Braun versus Seth. You got to have Oba versus Brock. We've pitched Usos, New Day, Hardys ladder match. I get that's pretty extreme. Maybe the Hardys aren't necessarily involved, but pun intended. But, that's the tag title match. Rhea versus Io, I think should be a singles match. I think you get the tag titles off them, and I do think it should be a singles match. You have AJ Becky, likely, right? You probably got Charlotte Alexa. That's one night right there. 7 matches, we'll say. You know, there's a couple other matches in there, like Sammy versus Trick seems reasonable. A U.S. title ladder match seems reasonable in some degree. But those in betweeners we already kind of mentioned, the L.A. Knights, the Pentas of the world.
You got Gunther still too.
Gunther, of course, which we'll actually get into that in just a moment. A lot of these in-betweeners are very hard to place, but they have to be placed for this Mania to really shape up because the main card can be great, but I also want that mid-card to be as well. And we'll transition that into Gunther, though, where that 8th match, if we're going to count it, it might be Gunther versus Rey Mysterio at this point. I really think off the back of the attack on Dragon Lee, they're really pushing the career killer run of Gunther, and I think he's killing another career come WrestleMania.
I do too. And I think a lot of people are going to be upset about it, and that's exactly why they're going to do it. And I think I don't want to say they kind of sense people like us that are, even though we love AJ Styles and Cena, like we want Gunther to
Kill
retire
them
these
all.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah, just end them all. But I think there's an understanding that this is one that people are going to feel strongly about emotionally because Dom is so loved, even though he's a heel. We've all, since before Dom even made his debut in the WWE, we said he would retire as dad and Ray will pass on the mask. Now we've gotten to the point where Dom's grown his hair out and it's going to be hair versus mask and whatever. Wouldn't it be something if we didn't get that? Because we did get Dom versus Ray at Mania before, and Gunther spoils the party. That is like, man, not only did you end Rey Mysterio's career, and like, we hate you for that, but the guy that we wanted to do it for years isn't even going to be able to be the one to do it. So I've almost like sold myself more on the thought of soaking in the tears of people because Gunther did it. I love Dom. I want the best for Dom. I'm a-okay if Dom ends Rey Mysterio's career. But the hater in me, the Gunther stan in me is, oh yeah, I don't want Gunther just beating Rey. I don't want Gunther retiring Rey.
Golly.
I want him taking that mask and taking it off in the middle of the ring. And people are disgusted at the fact that he just did that. I love it.
Yeah, I'm a little indifferent. I don't dislike it by any means. I'm more favoring liking it, of course, because I love Gunther and I love this career killer gimmick thing they got going on with Gunther, and it makes a lot of sense. I just still, we talked about it again a little bit on the Monday Night Raw review, that I still can't shake that feeling of Gunther just should be fucking going for a championship, doing a little bit more. Uh, Out of the guys he could retire, Ray's in there. It's a good little throw in if you want to continue that gimmick before he gets a Brock or somebody else. I just do think you look at we talked about Bronson Reed, right? And how Bronson Reed should be like, fuck this. Why am I helping Braun Breaker? I just beat Roman Reigns. I should be champion. Gunther retired Goldberg, retired John Cena, retired Styles. That should be enough for Gunther to kind of be like, I want to be fucking champion again. I understand continuing the gimmick of the career killer, but I think you're at that point where you can establish at this WrestleMania a Braun Breaker. You're establishing a Jacob Fatu. You're establishing an Obafemi, and you're making a new real big bad in Gunther. Gunther's already there. Roman's here in that big bad world. Gunther's right here, but you're leveling up Gunther by putting a championship back on him, which It's going to happen down the line. He's going to end Rey Mysterio's career, and then he's going to end Brock's, and then he's going to win the title, and then he's got a 1,300-day title reign coming. Whatever. I get it, but I do kind of think, pun intended, the time is now.
The only part where I agree with them not putting the title on Gunther, outside of the fact that he is the title, when he gets the title, you do kind of start to take away from this career killer
Mhm.
because now the focus goes towards the title. Sure, he could have a title versus career match and end someone's career that way, but there's only like so many of those that you can really do, for being honest. He's got to kind of ride the hot hand right now because I think after, if he does get Ray at Mania, we're then due for a good like 3 month or so rivalry of Gunther with someone who isn't going to retire. Say,
Penta.
I was just about to say
Yeah.
Penta.
Yeah.
3 months. Penta's sick of what Gunther's been doing. He retired Rey Mysterio. He just disrespects all luchadors with him unmasking Ray in such a disrespectful way and not letting Ray pass the torch to another luchador. You name it, as heinous as it can be. And you can do that story without the thought of, oh, well, Gunther's going to try to take Penta's career, whatever. Because then you can kind of bring some logic back to it. Because there is an aspect of it where why wouldn't Gunther just try to retire everybody, even
Mhm.
non old timers? So I think you're at that like I don't want to say sweet spot, but Mania is kind of the point. Then after Mania, there's no mega event, and you
Yeah.
can have a couple months. And then if he is going to retire Brock or a Chris Jericho, you then can get back into that going into a SummerSlam, which is this mega 2 night event. Or hell, maybe he's then going for a championship and it's at SummerSlam and he's main eventing. And that's the start of the 800-day reign, whatever. I don't hate it because now that we see what they're doing with the championship, there is always going to be a piece of me, though, that's going to say, we could have gotten Punk versus Roman night two, and night one, we could have gotten Cody versus Gunther. And
Yeah.
you still do Orton Fatu, hell, Orton Fatu Drew
Drew.
in some
Yeah.
combination.
Drew Oba.
Yeah, or like
McLips.
I'm fine
Yeah.
with keeping Obo with Brock, but
Brock. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Gunther, like I still think there's a very logical reason for him to be going for a championship at Mania, and you still get Punk versus Roman. Like I think you could have
Mhm.
had the best of both worlds. If it's just Cody versus Drew, that's when I'm really going to feel like, man, if it was Cody Orton, I would have understood. If it was Cody Orton Drew Fatu, I would have understood. But just another Cody Drew match at Mania, no. Gunther should have been winning the Rumble or winning the Chamber and facing Cody for the championship and taking it off of him and holding it forever.
Yeah, I think this is your chance to do something different, a little bit special with that Fatal Four Way on the WWE Championship side of things. With Gunther and Ray, I think what they really get out of that, if that's the route they're going, is he's retired a couple guys. I love AJ Styles. You're the AJ Styles guy. He's one of the greatest to ever do it. There's a level of like fandom for a John Cena and a Rey Mysterio that in that Venn diagram, they're in the similarities where AJ Styles is maybe a little bit outside of that. The crowd, the kids, the families love the John Cena's, the Rey Mysterios. It really garners a lot more hate for Gunther to retire a Rey Mysterio than perhaps even an AJ Styles. That really puts Gunther up another level. I just really don't know. Like, it's still Rey Mysterio is a fucking legend. It's still almost not the caliber of a John Cena. He's already done the biggest you can do in John Cena, so it feels like he's working a little bit in reverse. If he would have retired Rey and then Styles and then Jericho and then gets Cena last, makes enough sense. He goes on, wins a championship. It feels like we are just holding over with Gunther a little bit. They're doing their best, and we're getting a Gunther Ray match is going to be great, but like it feels a little bit holdoverish to me when you could be doing something else with Gunther. We were pretty adamant halfway through last year that like this is the year of Gunther. He's going to do a lot of these things, retire Cena, win the Rumble, win the title at Mania, and Gunther's back on top. We might not quite get there as soon because Drew is champion now, and it looks like that is gone. Once Drew won that title, it looked like that idea was kind of changing, and should have probably known from there on that Gunther is a little bit less likely to win the Rumble, but Drew Cody, as you said, one on one is just no. It's just no. There's no other answer to it. I can honestly see that match getting booked and getting enough hate that they are forced to change plans because I really can't see that. I just that is how you are just rerunning last year's WrestleMania. You want to change things. Cena and Cody didn't hit at WrestleMania for a lot of reasons. Cody Drew is really just a rendition of that in a lot of ways to me. It's going to fall very flat. There's nothing they can do in that match that would really excite me too much outside of adding the Ortons and the Fatus.
They had a three stages of hell match. Like,
That's
how do
it.
you
You
even
capped it.
have them face again? Like, that is the finisher. That is it.
And you brought
Unless you,
Fatu in that match. Like
yeah,
Fatu was a big
yeah,
disruption in that match.
yeah. My other thought on Gunther though is a guy like him. You're almost doing things for two reasons. You're doing things. Who can he beat to be as big as possible? And then who is the guy who's going to beat the big bad wolf? Who is that? Javon Evans or whoever. Like we were talking about when he was the Intercontinental Champion. Is it going to be a Chad Gable? It ends up being Sami Zayn, whatever. You start going through all these names. That payoff, obviously, you have to think about before he even beats John Cena. You're thinking about this because you're going in, oh, he's going to beat John Cena. This guy can't lose. Whoever beats him has to be someone that we are strapping a rocket to. Love that. But logically, the only way this can end is with Gunther as champion. Because what is that big payoff? Where if he's just retiring everybody, that's great. I love that. And he goes into these big feuds with a Penta, with a Javon Evans, and everyone is so excited to see this guy lose. Well, if he just loses, like, what is he actually losing? He just got pinned. Guess what? He's been pinned before. He's tapped out before. He needs to have that championship that feels like he's losing something. Besides the fact of him just being upset that he lost a match to a guy that he thinks he's better than. So if he's going to be that champion and eventually put over that next person to make them feel bigger, when does he get the title? Mania feels like the logical spot. Now I'm on board with not every title change happening at Mania. But with Drew as the champion, Cody in the mix, you figure say Cody or Orton win the title, they're going to feud for a hot minute with the title. I don't see Gunther immediately beating Punk. If Punk beats Roman, I wouldn't be against it. But then again, you think LA Knight or Braun Breaker are soon going to have those title runs. So when would Gunther,
Collins.
yeah, exactly. Like when would Gunther win the championship back? SummerSlam? I guess that's not impossible. Mania just feels like it was the right moment to do it. I think fantasy booking wise, it's kind of what we were saying beforehand. We just swapped we swapped Rollins for Punk because Rollins got hurt. For the longest time, we were saying Cody Gunther night one WWE Championship, Rollins Roman night two World Heavyweight Championship. Rollins gets hurt, you easily slide in Punk there, and it all still makes sense, and the rest of the card, plays out perfectly. So there's always going to be a piece of me that thinks that should have been the route.
Yeah, I mean it's really tough. Gunther, I do gotta say, I will add, like when it comes to him going for a championship, I know he lost to Punk at SummerSlam, blah blah blah. It does not do it for me if he's going after the world title. He should be going after the WWE Championship. Those titles are on pretty even playing fields a lot of the time. The WWE Championship is always it's always that one little step above. That's the title. You are the champion of the WWE. You're the face of the brand. That's the title he should be going after when that time comes. There is a lot of guys to hold over before then. Not saying he's going to go for this title directly. I do think it would be the World Heavyweight. But I don't think people have really considered the fact that Brock very well gets another title run before he's said and done, and that might not be the longest thing ever, but it's also Brock Lesnar. It very well could be. You never know. There's a lot of buffer in there to get that title back on Gunther. So it does really make me go back and think like maybe it should have just been at this WrestleMania. Like you said, not every title change has to be at WrestleMania, but there's a certain caliber that should be at SummerSlam, WrestleMania, so on. Gunther can win the title at Backlash. I'm going to be ecstatic because I love Gunther. But I don't know if the memory of that happening at Backlash is as memorable as him doing it at WrestleMania.
Would you be in the slightest bit surprised if Roman Reigns beat CM Punk at WrestleMania and the main event night two of SummerSlam was Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar for the World Heavyweight Championship?
No, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I definitely think that's a possibility. I do honestly think, I would like to think that they realized where they went wrong with like Cena Brock at WrestlePalooza, and that would maybe be a hint for them to not run back a Roman Brock. Like the crowd is not going to really buy into it. I think that if The Rock doesn't come back, that maybe fits the Saudi bill if
Yeah.
Brock is going to continue on past SummerSlam. But I don't know. I do think Gunther Brock is probably the low key SummerSlam plan right now. Maybe that's for the title. Maybe Gunther or Brock are champion going into that, and it's title versus career or whatever. Maybe that's the situation where Gunther puts the title on the line for the career. But again, Gunther's got to win the title before that. There's a lot. There's a lot of avenues right now. The Mania card is shaping up, but there is still a lot that can go wrong. I would say top of your list. What is the worst thing they could do right now at WrestleMania?
This won't surprise you, but after everything that we talked about, you might not think that this is the number one thing that popped in my
Worst of
mind.
the worst. Okay.
The worst of the worst. The Ryan, that's the worst thing that could have happened. I think it's if they had Brock beat Oba.
No, I actually could agree with that. Yeah, Brock beating Oba would be up there. We didn't really talk a lot of Brock Oba, but that would be bafflingly horrible decision, and I could see it happening because if Brock is going to retire, say at SummerSlam or win a title, like they might not want to have him lose prior to that. But yeah, it's either that or, as we did talk about a bunch, a straight up Cody Drew match really does not do it for me.
I think if you like put it on the table, hey, it's either Brock beats Oba and it's not straight up Cody Drew, or Oba beats Brock and you're getting Cody Drew. I think I'm taking Cody Drew and
And
guaranteeing the Oba win.
Oba win, yeah, because Oba really is like the next big thing. Literally,
Yeah.
Oba has the potential where the Cody Drew match, we can maybe move on a little bit quicker, and it's a shit match. We don't need it, but it's whatever in comparison to kind of burning Oba like that.
We know that you don't have to win to get over. You don't have to be the champion to be the winner, whatever.
Mhm.
You can take some moral victories and build someone from a loss. Oba, the way he's being presented and the type of character that he is, you've got Gunther retiring people, but I want Oba. I normally hate the undefeated streak. If there's ever a guy where you do it, it just feels if you're having him face Brock this quick, he's not a redemption arc type guy.
Yeah.
He should win that match. And like John Cena said, Cena gets his ass kicked by Brock at WrestlePalooza. It's only bad if they don't pay it off properly with who Brock
Oba,
loses to.
yeah,
Brock's got to lose to Oba. That makes the Cena loss at WrestlePalooza a little less. You understand it in the long run. They needed to build Brock up as much as possible so when Oba beats him, we really feel it. If Oba goes in and loses that match, man, that hinders him big time. Just like another example of if he's not going to win, don't have him in the match.
yeah. I mean, I don't even think Oba should beat Brock. I think he should beat Brock in a fashion we've never seen Brock lose. Yeah, I think he should almost Brock Cena SummerSlam it to Brock. I think Oba should really be coming out not just strong, but incredibly strong post that match. And they could fuck it up again. There's a lot they could fuck up. They did it last year. They could do it again. I'm hoping all goes well. We're predicting a lot here, and a lot of this is probably accurate. A lot of things could change. So there's a lot to look forward to, though.
You're one
WrestleMania.
injury away from
Mhm.
everything changing. Mm.
Everything changing. Oh, I did want to say I got a match your undefeated streak with Oba where I was going to mention, but I got sidetracked. This is the time where Gunther should also be on an undefeated streak. Like Gunther should not lose a match in
Which I
the
guess he
next year.
technically is, but
Yeah, it technically is, but like the only Gunther loss I'll accept is, if he takes on Dragon Lee next week and Penta grabs his foot from under the ring and Gunther gets counted out or something.
yeah,
Gunther and Oba can be the guys that are on like counteracting streaks, and then Oba's the eventual guy to take down Gunther.
completely agree. I also completely agree with what you said earlier that people need to subscribe or they're cowards. Simple as that.
I think you said it earlier on this video. I don't think I
Maybe.
actually said that this time around, but I'll say it now. If you do not subscribe to C2 Wrestling, if you don't follow us on all the social media, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, you are a big coward.